All right,
All right.
we're back for the Love of Stories podcast.
Episode 2. We've made it to number 2.
What are we reading today?
Oh, we are reading The Black Box by H. Thompson Rich. It was published in 1925, but in the Weird Tales Volume 6, Issue 6.
Yeah.
And
Pulp Fiction again.
and for those who don't know, he finds the stories. I read the stories, and then I read the stories to him because he's never read them. He only found it.
Yeah, so I have no idea what this is about. So, all right, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. All right. So, when they told me Ainsworth had been committed to an asylum for the insane, Ainsworth, the comrade of years, at first I could hardly believe it. He had always seemed so sensible, so strong of mind. But when a scribbled note from him finally reached me, I could no longer doubt. Insane he certainly was, and apparently in a condition bordering on the maudlin. I give you the note as he penned it, though nothing less than the original scrawl could possibly serve to convey anything like a correct impression of his mental state. My dear Conway, in the first place, I am not insane. I am as rational as you are. Surely, old fellow, you must know me well enough to know better than that my mind could be imbalanced. Why they have put me in this terrible place I cannot imagine, unless it... unless it...
Got a get bad print here.
Oh man, unless it IA.
Okay.
Unless it is, oh no, that's an S, it's bad print. All right, so I cannot imagine, unless it is more of Harrington's diabolic revenge. He has murdered my wife, and now he wants to murder me. Yes, murdered her. That is what he has done. Oh God, but it is harrowing. I have a story, Conway, but only you shall ever hear it. If you care to come, if not, then silence. I haven't long to live. In great agitation, Ainsworth. These are the words, but the scrawl and blur of writing were so great as to make it almost unintelligible. Lines were written over lines, and there were almost incessant scratches and erasures. I was 3 days puzzling out the contents before I was able to read the letter in the form above. Then I went, for I knew that somewhere in his crazed mind there was a powerful reason for his desire to see me. I found him in a worse condition than I had imagined. In fact, on my arrival at the asylum, it was only with the greatest difficulty that I was admitted to his cell. He's mad, positively mad, they told me. He raves continually. In his frenzy, he is likely to do you harm. Nonsense, I said. He asked me to come, and I must see him. He knows me too well to harm me, even in his present agitation. So they admitted me to his cell at last. As I entered, taking cognizance of the pitiful surroundings, his eyes met mine with a sad, unsteady look. At first he failed to recognize me. Then deep within these phantom pools some resemblance seemed to flame. "Conway!" he exclaimed, half inaudibly. "So you have come. I rather thought you would. You see, I am not insane." Yes, I see," I managed to say. "Well," he broke in, "I suppose they have told you a lot of lies. They've got me down for a murderer, but I swear as there is a God in heaven my hands are clean. At any rate, it was not my wife. Harrington I might have murdered, and even so I could take oath he lives. But that is the story. Do you care to hear it?" "Yes," I answered. "And yet, Ainsworth, if the telling is to cause you pain, I'd rather not." "Nothing of the sort," he hastened to reply, with some show of his old brusqueness. "If you really are willing, I'll tell you. But I must be brief, for those guards will come presently and take you away. I am seldom allowed the luxury of a visitor any more, and then only for a few minutes." With that he seated himself and entered into the most amazing account that it has ever been my fortune, good or ill, to hear. "You remember reading in the papers of my engagement, and subsequently of my marriage. The woman, as you recall, was a southern lady of rare beauty. I met her after my last hunting trip together with you, and you have never seen her except for the pictures in the papers, which quite failed to do her justice. Fred, old fellow, she was handsome, and you know that my eye was never an easy one to please. Need I tell you more? It was while on a visit to my uncle's plantation in Alabama that I met her, at one of the big weekend affairs where all the beauty of the South seemed gathered together. And yet, even in such a coterie of charm, she stood out easily from the rest. I was attracted to her at once, and in spite of the dark complexioned gentleman who seemed to be her most ardent admirer, I lost no time in meeting her and getting acquainted. He eyed me with suspicion and ill concealed jealousy, but I was never a man to fear a fellow man, especially in the matter of a woman. I laughed at him and took her away. We danced and talked, and I managed to be with her the greater part of the evening. Her name, I learned, was Eileen, and I called her that. When the time came to go home, it was I who escorted her, and the last I saw of her dark admirer was an open look of hate he flung at me from the veranda as I helped her into the waiting coach. Then we drove off, leaving him standing there in a burning rage. Acquaintance rapidly deepened to friendship, and friendship to love. I asked for her hand, and she accepted me. The engagement was announced. We were to be married in the fall. Then, it was one night in midsummer. How well I recall the odor of jasmine that hung in the air. I was awakened from sleep by the stealthy opening of a window, and, rising suddenly from my bed, I saw silhouetted against the moonlight a dark figure. Even as I looked, I caught a flash of gleaming steel in its hand. "Harrington!" I cried, leaping from my bed. "What are you doing here?" "Damn you!" he spat out through clenched teeth, and I rather fancied I detected the tremor of intoxication in his voice. "I have come here to kill you. You shall never have her. She is mine." With that, he sprang upon me, and I had barely time to guard myself before I was in his clutches. Being a strong man, I would not have feared him in the daytime, but in the night, with that deadly dagger in his hand, I realized that the chances favored him. Even as the thought of death flashed through my mind, there came a sudden chill in my back near the shoulder. "You have stabbed me!" I cried, and my mind went faint. But only for a moment, for suddenly I saw that he had drawn the dagger out and held it ready to strike again. Straight over my heart I saw it poise, saw it descend, when, summoning all my strength, I grappled him about the waist, flinging him heavily to the floor. Then I leapt upon him, seized the wrist that held the deadly knife, and fairly crushed it in the grip of my hand. He uttered a cry of pain, his fingers relaxed, and the weapon fell to the floor. Seizing it, I flung it out of the window, where I saw it sway glitteringly through the moonlight and vanish. Then I hurled myself upon him with all the frenzy of madness. "So you would take my life," I muttered in a low voice, fearful lest someone in one of the adjoining rooms should hear. "So you came here seeking to kill me." Of a sudden, my mind seemed to leave me. Scarcely knowing what I did, I reached for his throat. With all the strength I could summon, I sank my fingers into his fleshy neck. I felt them press against his windpipe, and I heard him gasp. Then, as the frenzy grew, I relaxed my hold on his throat, and my tense fingers crept over his face. I came upon his eyes, and with a fury that had never before been aroused in me, I sank my thumb into his left eye socket, and in an instant had gouged the eye bodily from its fixture and had flung it away, leaving him there half frantic with pain in a horrible pool of blood.
That's fantastic.
I
That's
know.
gross.
I know.
This guy's like, yep, I'm just going to rip out your eyeball.
And fling it across the room.
Nice. Okay.
Yep. Then I came to. My mind cleared, and I realized what a fearful thing it was that I had just perpetrated against a fellow being, and my heart sickened with horror and remorse. What was I going to do? Morning would come, and they would find him there. Perhaps he would die before morning, and I would be judged his murderer. He must not be found, I exclaimed in a low voice, thinking of my love for Eileen and the marriage that was near at hand. For her sake, and for the sake of our happiness, which we have a right to, he shall not be found.
Is this another case of you just should have gone to the cops in the first place?
Look, you picked this story.
I did.
Suddenly.
Okay, moving on.
Okay. Suddenly, I turned again to him in the darkness. He was half conscious and moaning feebly. Harrington, I whispered, you came here to murder me. You inflamed my mind, and but for the grace of God, you would now be dead. Your life is in my hands. You have willed it so, therefore I offer you one chance. Either leave this room and this house and this state forever, or I will kill you as you lie here and carry you to the marsh. There I will sink your body among the reeds where it will never be found. And Eileen and I will be happy. Choose. Either get up at once and go, or you die. He groaned, and his single remaining eye opened and looked wildly at me in the moonlight. I shall never forget its stare. I will go, he gasped, and sank once more into unconsciousness. What a pitiable beast he is, I thought. How dimly the spark of life smolders within his breast. A little more punishment, and the end. But he shall live again, I cried, and I bent over him again. Taking his scarf, I bandaged it around his bleeding and empty eye socket, and tied it in a firm knot at the back of his head. Then I got out a bottle of brandy, and putting the neck to his mouth, poured half a glass of its fiery contents forcibly down his throat.
That's right. This is the days when like brandy fixed everything.
Oh, yeah. It's like the miracle medicine. As the fumes of the strong liquor rose to his nostrils and the burning spirits rushed against his palate, impelling him to swallow, he gave a violent shiver and sat up. There, I said, helping him to his feet. That is what you needed. And now, come with me. Here, I put the bottle in his pocket. Take this along with you. You may have to use it before morning. Stealthily, I led him from the room and down the stairs to the hall below. We walked together across the veranda and descended the short flight of steps, then out over the road, keeping on until he was a good half-mile from my uncle's house. Then I paused. Now, I said, out of my sight forever. If you ever cross my path again, I'll kill you as I would a dog. Goodbye. And remember, goodbye, he muttered as he staggered away. And oh, I will be revenged for this. That is the last I ever saw of him, and whether he'd lived to reach some adjacent town and receive the medical attention he sorely needed, or whether he wandered off into the lonely swamp and was drowned, I know not. From his condition, it would seem almost impossible that he could have walked the 5 or 10 miles that would have meant life to him, and yet, from what subsequently occurred, I would say that he must indeed have reached help and must still be alive. At any rate, by the living God, he has had his revenge. That Eileen is dead, that I am here today, is the work of Harrington. Oh, that I am convinced. Yet of the living man, or of the spirit that lives after death, I know not. But the time is brief. Presently the guards will come, and you will have to leave. Let me relate the rest, and you shall judge for yourself. I returned to the house that night and removed from my room every trace of the fearful crime I had perpetrated. I had perpetrated. Every trace of the crime I had perpetrated. I have thoughts. Never mind. Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, if he'd just gone to the cops, it wouldn't have been a crime.
Dude.
It's like, hey, man, this guy just totally came into my house and tried to kill me. Or whoever he was staying at somebody else's place, right?
Yes, his uncle's.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Could have avoided all of this.
I removed every trace of the fearful crime I had perpetrated. Carefully, I rubbed the blood stains from the floor. Carefully, I rearranged everything so that no sign of the struggle could ever be visible. Carefully, I bandaged my wounded shoulder and disposed of my bloody garments. I even went to the garden below my window and found the knife I had flung there, carrying it to the river and hurling it forever out of sight. Then I tiptoed back to the house once more, locking every door just as I had found it, and returned to my own chamber. Had it not been for one odd, though apparently trivial circumstance, I would have slept more or less peacefully the remainder of the night. But due to a single curious fact, I lay awake tossing for hours, unable to quiet my nerves to slumber. The thing seemed incredible, but nevertheless it was so. The eye. The eye I had gouged from Harrington's head was not to be found anywhere in the room. Though I searched the chamber minutely, I could discover no trace of it. So agitated and ill at case, I at last gave up. I gave up the search and got into bed, where I lay wakeful all the long hours till dawn. When the morning came, however, my nerves seemed to steady themselves somewhat. I got up, and after I had shaved and dressed, I felt almost myself again. In fact, at breakfast, I even remarked that I had been troubled with insomnia the night before, thus allaying the suspicions of anyone who might possibly have heard the struggles that had issued from my room. But apparently no one had.
I mean, were the walls just like super thick in these houses back in the day? You know, we've lived in a house in the South, and those were paper thin walls. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that was it was made for a lot of people to live in. It was, yeah. But apparently no one had, for the remark did not engender any reply, and the conversation rapidly turned to other things. That morning, the whole party went for a tramp over the plantation, visiting the various negroes' cabins and overseers' quarters. I walked with Eileen, and as I gazed upon her, I thought she had never seemed lovelier. An unusually rosy color suffused her cheeks, and a spontaneous and girlish vivacity manifested itself in her every action. Her eyes looked up frankly and innocently into mine, and as I looked back at her with half-lowered lids, my soul almost shrank within me. In that moment, I realized that with my deed of the night before, I had sacrificed forever the joy of frank and happy companionship which would otherwise have been hers and mine, for nevermore would I be able to meet that clear, wondrous gaze, and always there would now be between us an invisible blood-red barrier, and the memory of a ghastly human eye in a hideous empty eye socket. But somehow the days passed, and gradually I gained back my old composure. By a heroic struggle of mind, I was freeing myself of the morbidity that had at first hovered about me like a fog. Harrington had been as the dead, and I was beginning to think that the episode was over, except that every now and then some flash of that hideous night would flash phantom-like across my brain, to be wiped out almost immediately by a snatch of melody or a burst of merriment from gracious and charming Eileen. With the first days of fall came our marriage. Never will I forget the festivities of that day. I was happier than I had ever hoped to be in my life. All memory of Harrington and my crime were now forgotten, and I entered into the spirit of my wedding with a glad and open heart. Many and beautiful were the gifts that were showered upon us. Eileen was like a diamond in a setting of emeralds and rubies and opals, every manner of precious stones. One gift, however, stood out from all the rest. That was a black box, small and antique, fantastically carved on every side with ancient Chinese or Japanese figures. But the curious thing about this box was not the carving, but the fact that it came to us by post, on the day of the wedding, with no hint as to the identity of the sender. Even this, curious as it seemed, was not the most peculiar thing about the box. The thing that struck me as strangest, and that gave me a feeling of foreboding such as I cannot describe, an odd, peculiar sensation of fear and suspicion, was that I was unable, after the minutest examination, to find any method of opening the box, In fact, it seemed not to be a box at all, but a solid cube of ebony, or some other dark, heavy substance. But why should anyone wish to send us a mere specimen of some antique Oriental carving? Surely it must be a box, and being a box, must have an opening somewhere, must in truth contain something. But, as I said, in spite of the fact that I went over it carefully, I found no opening, nor did I discover any hidden spring about it, upon whose touch the lid might fly open, as in certain similar boxes I had seen while in various parts of the world. And I would to heaven I had never learned it was in reality a box. I would it and its awful secret had forever remained unknown, but such was not to be. Prompted by a desire to learn the nature of this mysterious gift, I took it with me to the banquet in my uncle's house the night of our wedding. And in the course of the merriment that followed, laying it on the table, I arose and, lifting my glass, offered a toast. "Here's to the black box! Fortune attend whoever shall open it." They all raised their glasses, and the toast was drunk. Immediately afterwards, my uncle, who was seated at my right, took the box and started it around the table. As it came into the hands of each guest, he or she would turn it over, shake it, examine it, press it in, and every way try to discover its hidden secret. It had perhaps passed halfway around, and I had quite forgotten it, and was talking and laughing with Eileen, my wife, when suddenly there came a scream of horror, and everyone immediately looked in the direction whence it had issued. There sat Mrs. Fitzheron, the box open in her shaking hand, lying across the table in a half faint. "My God!" I remember hearing my Uncle Henry exclaim, and leaping to his feet, he rushed to her. Bending over her, he took the box from her hand and peered inside when he, with a low cry, dropped it and stood there trembling, pale as death. I leapt to my feet and asked him what the matter was. He turned, and with eyes that seemed dazed, he looked at me, and his lips moved. "That box," he said. "For God's sake, Ainsworth. Harrington." Then he stopped, his lips compressed. "Where is it?" he suddenly demanded. And then I looked. It had fallen to the floor and snapped shut. Stooping, I picked it up and attempted to hand it to him. "Take it," he said, drawing back, and an unaccountable expression crept across his face. "Take it, and for God's sake, keep it shut." So I took it wonderingly and set it down on the table beside me. Eileen picked it up and began regarding it with increased curiosity. Meanwhile, some of the men had succeeded in reviving Mrs. Fitzheron, and she sat there listening, positively pallid. Uncle Henry bent over to her. "Did you see it?"
Did they give her brandy?
Probably.
There you go.
Cure for everything. "Did you see it?" I thought I heard him whisper. "Yes," she replied, slowly, hardly able to speak. "Harrington's." "Later," said Uncle Henry, checking her. "No more here." Then he turned and addressed the table. "Mrs. Fitzheron is not feeling well. If you will excuse me, I will escort her home." With that, the two of them left together. What passed between them I shall never know, but when my uncle returned, he took me aside. "Frank," he said, "I'm not going to question you about that box. Whatever it is your affair and not mine. But I am going to insist that if you and Eileen wish to remain under this roof, you must get rid of it. I refuse to have it in this house overnight." "Why?" I replied. "I do not understand." "I am not so sure you do not understand," he said slowly. "That is between you and your conscience. But I insist that you get rid of the box at once." "Very well," I said dully, and left to carry out his wish. The whole affair had thrown a damper on the party, and they were now breaking up and leaving for their rooms. Those who were staying with my uncle, and the rest were taking their carriages and driving off. In half an hour, everyone had either retired or left. But the box, where was it? For the moment, I could not think where I had left it. Then I remembered last seeing it on the banquet table, where I had laid it after Uncle Henry refused to touch it. Hastily, I ran to the banquet room. It was gone. Then I noted the absence of Eileen. She has doubtless gone to her room, I thought, and swift as a flash the realization came that the realization came that the dread box had last been in her hands. She had been exceptionally curious about it. What if she were even now attempting to open it? In an agony of apprehension and dread, I rushed upstairs. I must get it away from her. She must never see the contents. Dashing into her room, I turned on the light. "Eileen," I called. There was no answer. "Eileen, where are you?" I repeated the call. Still there was no answer. Suddenly a wave of terror engulfed me. Had she opened the box? Had its dread contents exerted some horrible spell on her? "Oh, my fair young wife!" I turned from the library and ran into our bedroom. "Eileen," I called once more. There came no sound but my voice, which echoed strangely in the still room. Striking a match, I lit one of the tall candles on the dresser, and by its first feeble ray I saw her. There she lay, in a little crumpled heap on the bed, in her hand the black box, shut. Bending over her, I took it gently from her hand and laid it aside. "Eileen," I whispered, "answer me. What is it? Are you ill?" She didn't move. In a frenzy of fear, I laid my hand over her heart. There came no answering beat, and as I looked at her eyes, a sudden icy chill struck me to the heart. They were glazed, and on her lips was the frost of death.
Frost of death.
Frost.
On your lips? What is that? What is the frost of death on lips? Like, do your lips change color?
I'm guessing it's that, like, as the blood drains from your face and everything.
All right, so
They're going to have that kind of dusty, bluish gray look.
Okay.
Okay, frost of death.
It's a discoloring.
It's beautiful.
Sure.
It's a lovely description. With a moan, I flung myself upon her. "Eileen! Eileen!" Again and again I called her name, but the only answer was the...
Did he say, "Come on, Eileen"? Come on, Eileen! Sorry. I won't interrupt again.
It had to be
If
done.
I didn't do it, I wouldn't forget.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Again and again I called her name, but the only answer was the echo of my voice, which reverberated out of the room and down the dark, still corridors of the old mansion. In a frenzy of anguish, I seized her. I held her close to me and implored her to speak. I stroked her soft, dark hair and kissed those pale, cold lips. But she made no move. She was dead. I think it was then that the madness came upon me, if I am mad. I seized the box and struggled to open it. Madly, I worked over it. I stamped on it, bit it, flung it against the wall. I prayed, screamed, cursed over it. But it would not open. Finally, in a fit of insane, hopeless rage, I seized an enormous andiron from the grate, and with all my strength brought the heavy metal piece crushing down upon that dark, mysterious box. The impact was sufficient. The lid flew off, shattered, and there it lay, with the mystery revealed. Taking the candle from the dresser, I brought it over and peered down into the recess of the box. As I looked, a wild cry escaped me. I looked again. I could not believe my eyes at the dread horror that lay therein. Seizing the box in both hands, I held it close to the candle, and I gazed straight into it and beheld, oh God, I know not how I can ever tell it without being utterly engulfed in madness. Beheld there in that dark recess, rolling and gleaming as if set in a socket, staring straight at me, the hideous, bloody eye I had torn from Harrington's head on that tragic, never to be forgotten or expiated night. As I looked into that awful orb, and as it looked back at me, I felt my reason go. Fascinated, I gazed on, and the more I looked, the more hideous became the stare that met my stare. How long I sat there spellbound, hypnotized, I do not know. Finally, it seems hours afterward, I rose and with a wild, hysterical laugh, lifted the eye out of its socket in that awful box, and putting it between my teeth, crunched it, spitting it out upon the floor a mangled pulp. Then, laughing deliriously, I took the box itself and hurled it through the window into the night. I heard the glass tinkle. I heard the box strike on the ground below. Then I flung myself into a chair and laughed loud and long. It seemed as if I would never stop laughing. And there they found me. Even yet, when I think of it, I must laugh. I drew back, sickened, as Ainsworth's maudlin laughter rang through the steel corridors of the madhouse. That is all. Shortly afterward, I left him. 3 months later, he died. Died laughing insanely. There you go.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Eyeballs apparently are very scary.
Oh, I have so many thoughts on this one.
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
So, let's talk.
All right.
Let's talk.
So the setup's pretty classic, right?
Yes.
So we're doing we have the narrator who's insane. He's doing his story. This is very Lovecraft.
Yes.
I mean, like in Call of Cthulhu, we have many levels of this.
Of insanity.
You have someone telling a story about...
Unreliable narrator.
Well, it's an unreliable narrator, but I mean, just the idea of you have a character and your narrator isn't the person who experienced the story.
Yes.
Right? They're just relaying the story as they heard it.
From the insane person.
From the insane person who often has stories within stories.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that.
Okay. And I would just like to say there are so many points in this story where the narrator is like, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
Ainsworth?
Yeah.
Ainsworth is the insane guy.
Ainsworth is the insane guy, but so the narrator within a narrator, where Ainsworth is like, oh, I had nothing to do with this. And I'm like, I feel like that makes him sound even more unreliable.
Well, he never says that. He never says he has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but just some of the ways that...
What do you mean?
I
mean, the whole time, I feel like he's just like constantly saying, yeah, this was my crime. I'm guilty of this thing. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of that, right?
Maybe braggadocio is the word that I want. Like, dude, I'm strong, but, it's because he caught me at night that, I had trouble taking him.
But he didn't have trouble taking him. He choked him out, took out his eye, and...
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, what I don't get about this from his point of view is like, all right, first of all, I've said it before, the dude attacked you in your bed at your uncle's place. Why didn't you go to your uncle's like, hey, this clown is like, tried to kill me and I ripped out his eye and I threw the knife out. Where's the knife? Where's the dude's knife? I mean, holy crap. I mean, you have that. It went out the window. The knife. I mean, you're going to be able to find that. All right.
And your uncle would obviously know that it wasn't a knife from his house.
Right. Exactly.
Because those things are usually pretty, personalized.
Oh, yeah, sure. So you have that. And then you have, so, I mean, his uncle's going to side with him anyway. It's his nephew.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, who's this other guy? Oh, he was jealous?
And
like,
trespassing?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Trespassing.
Well, yeah. And this is also the South. I just like to point this out.
Okay.
There's this very much this, I know this because Thomas Sowell goes into this in one of his books. This idea of, the idea of defending your honor to the death is upheld in communities.
Oh,
especially in the frickin' 20s and earlier.
Yeah.
So, if some guy was like challenging your honor, especially over a woman that you're engaged to, or
they were engaged.
You're engaged to, that's like a thing. It's like, oh yeah, oh of course you killed him, yeah, good for you. That's what I would have done. I mean, so there's that. I mean,
or you didn't kill him. Oh, that was really nice. I would have killed him.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you could do the Oh, you showed him mercy. Anyway, if he just said anything one way or the other, it wouldn't have been a problem. I just find it interesting that it was it was done in that thing, which leads me to believe that the writer of this is from the North.
Oh, because
So
he wouldn't have gotten
they wouldn't have understood that whole social dynamic.
Okay.
That's just me. That's just me speculating here. No research on my part. I'm a passive researcher, so I let it come to me.
Dude, I was trying to look up more about this guy, but he's pretty much only written stories that have gone into the
pulps.
The pulps.
Yeah.
He's only written pulp stories. There's no Wikipedia page on him.
Yeah.
So,
because
that's where I get my information from.
Well, you could just have you have these guys who that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, dime store novel stuff before dime store novels. You wrote for the pulps. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's that. This whole idea of this all could have been avoided.
This all could have been avoided. The guy's at a place that he's not supposed to be at. He's got a knife that doesn't belong to the house. And he came into your room and stabbed your shoulder because the guy had a stab
he had the wound. That's right.
Yes.
So, yeah, we kind of left that alone. We never get back to, the thing is, he's perfectly within the right, which is interesting from a story perspective, right? Because it sets it up. It's like, look, this guy attacked me. He hit me first. If he's got a puncture wound, he's bleeding.
Yes.
The severity of it is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, this guy tried to kill you. You can do whatever you want to this guy at this point.
Yeah.
You can.
You have justification at this point.
Exactly. So, yeah.
I know.
This is why I'm like, all right, this is kind of a stretch. Unless, and now that we're psychoanalyzing this whole thing, this guy had serious psychological issues from the start.
Beforehand.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because even in his crazed state of, I'm choking a guy and now I'm going to rip his eyeball out instead, he was like, I got to fix this. I got to pretend I never was that bad.
Right, because maybe it was the severity, the violent nature of what was going on that he was afraid of.
Yes, that it would somehow influence his relationship with Eileen. Maybe she would get. Maybe she'd be like, "You took out his eyeball. I can never marry you now."
Right. Nah, I'm going with the South. That would have been perfectly fine.
It still would have been fine.
Yeah. So okay.
All right. What you got?
Okay. All right. So we got the narrator. He's insane. Now this works if he was insane from the start before he met Eileen and stuff. I mean, we don't get any hints to that.
Yeah.
I just don't buy it. Of course, I also have the benefit of living over 100 years after this was written, and we've seen so much fiction come and go since then. It's like, this trope. It's just the idea of you have the Lovecraft does this too, where the scene is just so horrifying that you lose all your faculty, right? It's like,
I'm pretty sure he lost his faculty when he gouged out the eye. I think that was the start of it.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. I mean, you did do it. That's what, you went for it.
Yeah. And just at that point, lean into it. And,
yeah.
I know.
It's not just him, it's Lady what's her nuts who fainted when she saw the eyeball.
Karen.
when she saw the box, and then his wife just flat out dies from seeing an eyeball.
Okay, here's the part that really made me think this is not a reliable narrator, because you've got his uncle. All the guests are sitting at this table. They get the box opened.
Yeah.
And the uncle immediately says, Ainsworth, Harrington's. And I'm like,
how did the uncle know about the eyeball?
How did the uncle know it was Harrington? And that part of me is going, okay, was he insane enough at the time that he just assumed that everybody knew what he had done?
Yeah. The uncle says
The-
Harrington.
Yeah, the
Uncle says Harrington, not our guy.
No. And then the uncle is like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what you did. Obviously, you know what he did.
Oh, the clue. The clue. If he said, how would he know?
Uh-huh.
That's
Or was the guy insane and just, in his head, it was like perceived guilt kind of thing.
Oh, I see
figured
what you're
everyone
saying.
else
So
figured it
because the
out.
way that he's telling the story to our narrator, whose name is Fred, by the way.
Frank.
Frank?
Oh, no. Frank Ainsley. Fred, you're right.
It's Fred.
It's Fred. That's
So
what
he's telling. So he's in the insane asylum. He's telling his story to Fredo here, and yeah, that's a tell.
Uh-huh.
Or more likely, the guy writing this is just churning this out so fast that it's really about the sensationalism of the story, the way it's written, and it's like, oh, actually, narratively, that doesn't make sense. It kind of breaks the narrative. Who cares? Where's my word count?
I could see that.
I mean, these were the thing about the pulps is the reason they're printed on all this like bad paper, like cheap paper, is they're meant to be read and thrown away, which is why you don't see a lot of them. It's like old comic books. They just got destroyed, chucked, and thrown away because they were meant to be disposable.
I'm wondering now. No, they did call him Ainsworth. I feel like at one point they had changed the name. Like the guy forgot by the end of the story what he had called him at the beginning. I think that was just in my head.
Yeah, what's our main character's name? I don't remember.
I've totally seen that done in books.
Who's my guy? I don't know.
Edmund, Eddington, whatever. They'll figure it out.
So yeah, you know what I'm talking about. No, probably.
Probably.
Okay, so the other thing is, and they're doing this again, is the Oriental box. And I think it's because this idea that the exotic box that's Chinese or Japanese, I'm thinking about mechanically in the story why it's that. And it's because it's a puzzle box, right? It's more likely to be a puzzle box. If you were to get a puzzle box, you were to acquire one, chances are it would be like a Chinese-Japanese puzzle box. So I was thinking, when you were reading it, I'm like, okay, what are we doing with the box? Because I didn't know how it ended.
Yes.
I didn't know where we were going with this. So I'm writing down in my notes, all right, you have the exotic thing, which is this Oriental puzzle box. How is this going to play out? And that's kind of a trope in these kinds of stories, right? Because it's unknown, you don't quite understand the culture. It could be anything.
It's a good reason that no one could figure out how to open the box because obviously exotic.
Oh, I did like the passing it around the party to see who could open it. It's like box fishing, right? To see who could. It's like, all right, well, I don't know how to open this. Maybe somebody else can. And of course, it's the old lady who faints.
Well, it's got to be dramatic. It's that dramatic reveal, and what's more dramatic than swooning?
Yeah, it's like you pass out, and it's like, and then you do. There's a lot of just that kind of drama that I feel like is just playing out and drawing it out, and you're just like, what's in the box? And it's like, we all know what's in the box.
We all know. He couldn't find the eyeball.
I couldn't find the eyeball, so it's like, clearly it's going to be in the box. And I'm like, and as you're reading out the story, I'm like, okay, so we know his wife's dead. Okay, she doesn't die just by looking at a freaking eyeball. I'm like, yeah, no, she does.
If it can make an old lady swoon.
But I guess the old lady is like made of sterner stuff than his younger wife because she just passed out and just needed a drink afterwards. His wife just dies.
Dude, there's a reason that old lady is still alive and old. She can take anything. Give her a glass of brandy and she's good to go.
That's a bit of the old Irish courage. No, she's been self-embalming for decades. So.
She can take a bloody eyeball, which I would like to know, A, why the eyeball is still bloody, and B, why it's not desiccated at this point.
Yeah, like how much time has passed at this point?
Months. It's months.
Months.
And I would think after, unless the guy shoved it in his pocket on the way out the door, because that's what would have to happen. The guy who lost it just happened to grabbed it after, getting the drink of brandy. It gave him a moment of clarity, and he's like, I'm just going to shove this in my pocket so I can use it later for revenge.
Well, I think he probably thought, it's my eyeball. Why should I leave it here? I mean, if he came across it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay.
I thought the crunching it at the end was a little excessive.
I think that was just kind of like that was the finale of the drama and like, just the whole sensationalism of the story.
Shock
right?
factor.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit shocking because that's what these stories are for, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they become. I got a feeling that if we really dive in to all of these pulp stories, we're gonna find that most of them are very unbelievable, implausible. Like, oh, come on, But I think the readers 100 years ago would have been, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I could go back to work, I guess, or I could read this.
Oh, I'm totally gonna read this.
So it's very much escapism, and I'm wondering, and this is something else culturally speaking, all these pulp magazines this is in the early 20s. We're coming right out of the First World War.
Okay.
So there was a lot of just. I've read like books on this. Just the. Especially in the United States, just like how you had like these people coming back and like how horrible the war was and just what it did to people. And we were looking more for escapism, like that kind of outlet, which is, I think is why, we got into, and when Prohibition happened right afterwards, why the roaring 20s were roaring. I think there was a lot of coping with alcohol. It's like, guys, you made Prohibition exactly at the wrong time.
Yeah. People need that cup of brandy. It's medicine.
Well, actually, it's funny because it is medicine. I mean, kind of going sidetracked here, but in Prohibition, you could have prescribed to you like a bottle of whatever spirit by a doctor, like one bottle per person per month. And that was legal. That was actually legal. And that's actually what kept a lot of the distilleries technically open.
Because they were making medicine?
Yes, it was medicinal. So, you have like these famous distilleries, especially like in Kentucky, that stayed open during Prohibition because all their stuff was being used medicinally and it was being exported to Europe.
Okay.
So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I finished the story and I'm like, I am hashtag team not Frank, because bad decisions, Frank. You made bad decisions.
This means, holy crap, I never put that together. All the alcohol they were doing in this was illegal.
1925?
When was Prohibition? I thought that started in the early 20s. Yeah. When did Prohibition start?
Yeah, because they were in Alabama, so it wasn't, when?
To the internet.
The internet solves everything. Prohibition start. 1920, January 17th, 1920.
Boom.
Boom.
They were breaking the law.
On many levels, apparently. Except, again, the alcohol is one thing.
Yeah.
But he didn't actually break the law until he tried to cover it up.
Yeah.
Oh.
But maybe is that like part of the morality tale? I don't know. See, whenever I'm reading something, I'm trying to take in as much of the period as I can. Because the thing is, we forget that kind of stuff when you're reading the story 100 years later. And it's like, all right, First World War, what? Prohibition, what? And I'm like, yeah, this is important cultural things. It affected everybody.
You slipped the brandy into his pocket, but apparently no one was supposed to have it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess you could have had it for medicinal purposes, which technically that's what they were using it for.
Yeah. Because, half a bottle of brandy and you can get 5 miles with no eye.
So anyway, that's kind of That's really what I got on that. And going forward with these older stories, I like to try to keep that kind of stuff in context,
Uh
so I can be like, ah, ha, 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 ha. So just so you know.
Hashtag call the cops. That would be my hashtag.
You still
Because
using hashtags? Is that a thing?
#, call the cops. How old are
How
you?
to call cops?
I'm just the thing is, I read this story and I'm like, oh, you had to just you could have made this better at any point in this, and
You did.
you wouldn't have a dead bride. You wouldn't be insane.
All right, his bride was pretty flimsy.
Well, she was no Mrs. Fitzherod.
No, that's true. Oh man. Okay.
Maybe it just all came crashing in on her when she saw the eyeball and she's like, oh no, my husband did something terrible. And this is what he'd been worried about the whole time. Like if he told, maybe she would have fallen apart if he'd told her that what he did in the first place and she'd seen the guy with no eye.
If they had dropped a couple of more hints, I would have bought the unreliable narrator side of this, where it's like, yeah, you killed this guy, and then because he was jealous of you, and then you killed your wife because you believed she secretly loved him. That kind of thing. If he was that unhinged.
Yeah.
All you would have to do is just drop a little bit of a foreshadowy hint earlier in the book, and yeah, the reader could piece that together as like, okay, yeah, you're just nuts and you murdered both of them.
So
like he never got away and you killed your wife because your own guilt and paranoia. That's not how it's written, but I'm just saying, like, you could infer that if there was just a little bit more.
The real question then becomes, at the end of this story, is he an unreliable narrator who really was insane from the moment he got attacked? Or is he actually relaying the true account of what happened? That's leave a note in the comments, because that's what I would like to know. What do you think? Unreliable narrator, or this actually happened this way?
I think it actually happened this way, and it's fast, lazy writing on the part of the author. I do. And I think, but you know what? I don't care. I thought it was, it's still fun.
It's a good story. I kept reading it. Like when I was reading it just to myself, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know what happens, but I like his descriptions. I really like the way he describes stuff.
Yeah, I like this period. I'm really getting, it's growing on me, this this style of writing in this period. I like that because
the sentences are long, but
it's long. It feels padded, but the descriptors are so good.
Yes.
So, okay.
All right.
I think that's all I got for my thing. So, so I don't know.
Many thoughts.
What do you think? What are you thinking for number 3 here? Moving forward, you want me to pick another one?
Well, yeah.
All right, we can keep going.
I'm enjoying random, not having to select the story myself and just having to read it. And then I love seeing your reaction to the weirdness that is the story. So yeah, pick me another one.
Okay. All right. So that's it for now. So yeah, until next time, this is For the Love of Stories. And
see ya.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.